I found out by accident, not through a confession, not through a tearful apology, through a clerk at the county records office who looked at me like she'd just uncovered a crime scene. She slid the file across the counter and said quietly, "Your original birth certificate was sealed, by request of your mother." I laughed at first. Sealed? Why would it be sealed? I'm not adopted. She didn't laugh back. She tapped one line with her pen. Father's name was removed. A court order was filed. 26 years ago. 26 years. My entire life. I felt my stomach drop like an elevator with its cables cut. I've always known my dad, I said automatically. My mom's husband. He raised me. He signed everything. The clerk hesitated, then lowered her voice. He signed the amended certificate, not the original. My hand started shaking. What does that mean? It means, she said, choosing every word carefully, the man you believe is your biological father legally isn't. The room went muffled like I was underwater. I drove straight to my mother's house. No planning, no calming down. Just raw instinct and a question that felt like it was burning a hole in my chest. She was in the kitchen, folding laundry like it was any normal afternoon. "Mom," I said, "why is my birth record sealed?" Her hands froze mid-fold. Not confusion. Not surprise. Fear. A tight, old fear that had been waiting decades to be triggered. She didn't look at me. She just whispered, "Where did you hear that?" I told her. Her face drained of color. "You went digging where you shouldn't have," she said. My voice cracked. "Why is my real father's name removed from my birth certificate?" Silence. The kind of silence that isn't empty. The kind that's full of buried bodies. Finally, she said, "You don't need to know about him." My heart started pounding. "Why?" She folded the towel slowly. Too slowly. "Because if you find him," she said, "everything you believe about your life will fall apart." I stared at her. "You hid my own father from me for 26 years?" Her jaw tightened. "I protected you." "From what?" She finally looked up. And in her eyes, I didn't see guilt. I saw calculation. And that's when I realized this wasn't about the past. This was about something she was still hiding. Something she was still terrified I would uncover. Something that made her willing to erase a man from my existence. And I hadn't even asked the most dangerous question yet. I sat down across from her at the kitchen table. The same table where she'd helped me with homework, where she'd bandaged scraped knees, where she'd once told me, "We never lie to each other in this family." My voice was low. "Who is he, Mom?" She shook her head immediately. "No. Who is he?" "You don't need that man in your life," she snapped. "You have a father?" "The man who raised me, yes. But you just admitted he isn't my biological one." Her lips pressed together. "He's your real father in every way that matters." "That's not what I asked." She stood up, started pacing. "You think blood makes someone a parent? You think genetics are more important than love?" I followed her with my eyes. "I think lying to your child for 26 years is abuse." She stopped. Her voice turned sharp. "Watch your tone. Watch your lies." For a second, I thought she might slap me. Instead, she sat back down and lowered her voice like she used to when I was little and scared. "I did what I had to do." "To protect who?" I asked. "Me. Or you." Her eyes flicked away. That told me everything. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo I'd taken of the clerk's screen. There was an original name there before you had it removed. I can request it unsealed. A judge can order it. Her breath hitched. "You wouldn't." "I will." She leaned forward, gripping the edge of the table. "If you open that door, you won't be able to close it." "What are you so afraid of?" I whispered. "That he'll reject me? That he'll be dead? That he's a criminal?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm afraid you'll choose him." That stunned me. "Choose him over who?" "Over you," I almost said. She swallowed. "He doesn't get to come back now. He lost that right." "Did he know about me?" Her face went rigid. "Answer me." She closed her eyes. "No." My chest tightened. "You never told him I existed?" "I couldn't," she said quickly. "I was young. I was scared. My parents would have disowned me. Your stepfather was willing to raise you as his own. It was the cleanest solution. So you erased him. I protected our family. You protected your version of it." Silence again. Then I asked the question that made her flinch like I'd struck her. "Does he even know he has a son?" Her voice broke, just slightly. "No." The word landed like a gunshot. A man out there had lived his entire life not knowing I existed. And my mother had made sure of it. "Why?" I asked. "Why not tell him later, When you were safe? When I was older? She looked at me, and for the first time, her control slipped. Because if he ever found you, she said, he would have taken you from me. My stomach twisted. Taken me how? She hesitated. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. He tried once. What do you mean? He tried once? My mother stared at the table like the answer was written in the wood grain, and she was afraid to read it out loud. When I was pregnant, she said, he wanted you. He wanted custody. He wanted his name on everything. He said he wouldn't let me raise you alone. That sounds like a father, I said. Her head snapped up. No, that sounds like a man who wanted control. The word hung between us. Control. He hired a lawyer, she continued. He said if I didn't agree to let him be involved, he'd fight me in court. He said he had money, connections. He said he could prove I wasn't stable enough. My pulse quickened. Was that true? She didn't answer right away. You were barely 20, she finally said. I was terrified. I thought he'd win. I thought he'd take you, and I'd be reduced to a visitor in your life. So you ran. I married your stepfather. He agreed to sign as your father. We filed an amended birth certificate. My parents helped. We sealed the original. Legally, your biological father became a stranger. You didn't just hide him from me, I said slowly. You erased me from him. Her eyes filled with tears now, but they didn't soften what she said next. I had to. I shook my head. You took his choice. And mine. He would have ruined our lives. She insisted. He was obsessive. He wouldn't let go. He kept calling, showing up, asking about you. My throat went dry. How long? Until you were 3. 3. For 3 years, he tried to find his child, I whispered. And you made sure he never could. She nodded. And then he stopped, she said. We moved, changed numbers. My parents pulled strings. Eventually, there was nothing left for him to chase. I felt sick. So, all my life, I said, every birthday, every school play, every time I wondered why I didn't look like Dad, he was out there not even knowing I existed. Tears rolled down her face now. I was afraid he'd take you. Or that you'd lose control, I said. She looked at me sharply. I built this family, she said. I held it together. I wasn't going to let a man from my past tear it apart. There it was. Not protection. Possession. I stood up. I'm unsealing the record, I said. Her face went pale. You can't. I can. And I will. If you do that, she whispered, you'll open wounds that never healed. I'm not responsible for the lies you buried, I said. I'm responsible for the truth you stole. She reached for my arm. Please, she said. Don't do this. For the first time in my life, my mother was begging me, and that's when I realized something even more terrifying. She wasn't afraid of me finding him. She was afraid of what he might tell me about her. And whatever that truth was, it was big enough that she'd spent 26 years building a wall around it. A wall I was finally about to tear down. The letter came back 3 weeks later. A judge's seal. A single page. The unsealed original birth certificate. There it was. A name I had never seen before, but somehow felt in my bones. Daniel Mercer. I sat in my car and just stared at it, hands shaking, heart pounding like it was about to break through my ribs. This wasn't a mystery anymore. This was a man. A real person. Someone who had been erased. I found him online in less than an hour. Same city. Same age. A small construction business. A wife. No kids listed. I drove past his office 3 times before I had the courage to park. Inside, the receptionist smiled. Can I help you? I'm looking for Daniel Mercer, I said, my voice barely steady. She pointed down the hall. Office on the right. Every step felt like I was walking into a life that was never supposed to intersect with mine. I knocked. A man's voice answered. Yeah? I opened the door. He looked up, and I froze. Same eyes, same jawline, same way of frowning when confused. He stood slowly. Can I help you? I swallowed. My name is Ryan, I said. I think I'm your son. The room went completely silent. He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. That's not possible, he said. I don't have any children. My mother's name is Karen, I said. You dated her 26 years ago. His face drained of color. He sat down hard in his chair. She told me she lost the baby. My chest tightened like it was being crushed. No, I said. She hid me. She sealed my records. She made sure you'd never find me. His hands started shaking. For 3 years I tried, he whispered. I hired a lawyer. I went to her parents. I drove past her old apartment. Then one day, she was just gone. Everyone said I imagined it, that there was never a child. He looked up at me, eyes wet. I wasn't crazy, he said. I wasn't. I shook my head. No, you were a father who was erased. He stood and walked toward me slowly like I might disappear. I would have been there, he said. Every birthday, every school day. I would have fought the world for you. Tears burned my eyes. I know, I said. That's why she was so afraid. We stood there, two strangers bound by a lie that had shaped both our lives. That night, I went back to my mother's house. She knew the moment she saw my face. You found him, she whispered. Yes. Her shoulders sagged. He told me everything, I said. About the lawyer, about searching, about being told I died. She covered her mouth. You didn't protect me, I said. You protected your control. You stole a father from a son, and a son from a father. She broke down, sobbing, but I felt something inside me finally go still. For the first time in my life, the missing piece had a face, a voice, a truth. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I just said the words that ended her power over the story. You don't get to rewrite my origin anymore. And I walked out. Not angry, not confused, just finally whole.